Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Not Another Rangers podcast. I don't know what Ricky's there. He's pressing buttons there in the background.
He's Tourette's. He's got ticks.
What's wrong with my ears? It's no good.
We should just have played that intro over and over again because that's probably about as exciting as stuff that's happened over the course of the last week, isn't it? Do you know, there's been a pretty quiet week. So, welcome everybody to Not Another Rangers podcast. It's Friday night. It's a week on from the appointment of Russell Martin and probably one of the bigger weeks in Rangers history. Been relatively quiet. I think we will talk about some rumours. We will talk about some quiet. I think we will talk about some rumours. You can hear some background there, Ricky. So, don't know what's happening. Ricky's technology over in Cyprus is a bit much. So he's away and he'll come back shortly.
He's a way to find another rumour.
I know. How are we this evening?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm good. I was saying it before I go there, but we're working this week, so I've not actually seen an awful lot of stuff. We're away for a few days.
Were you away somewhere? What's that?
No, I was at a conference for a few days, so I was just in, and it was in Glasgow and I'm staying, so it's not exactly far away from where I stay, but
I can't see that, Gary. It's like 10 minutes in the car, is it not? 15 minutes.
All the networking and all the other stuff that goes with it, so it was a few days away.
You just wanted a couple of nights away and a couple of babies, didn't you?
That was it. It was up to 2:30 in the morning, to be fair, so I with some shots and some and maybe a few new subscribers I managed to get while I was there. So if they're watching tonight, good to see you. Anyway, there's breaking news, so we'll start with breaking news. So me and Scott are sorry pressing the buttons at the same time there. So the breaking news is that Sam Shirai has left the Rangers. I've seen that in the last 20 minutes or so. Perhaps unsurprisingly, Scott, that he's moved on.
Listen, if he's not going to be, I know he get given a long contract, didn't he? Because the board signed him when Clement was here, but I know he's still here when obviously Martin came in. But if Martin wants to take the club forward, he needs his own guys there. He can't go with somebody else's guy. I know fair play to him, he's stuck around for a while, but if he's got a chance to go back to his homeland or go back somewhere else and maybe do the same job or become assistant manager and a manager, then fair play to him. And listen, good luck to him wherever he goes. I don't know where he's away to Gary, but good luck to him.
And Ricky, I suppose the only surprising bit about it, maybe the strange bit in some ways, was he was given a 3.5-year contract back in January. So 6 months into the 3.5-year contract, he's presumably on his way with a nice check in his back pocket.
Yeah, very strange appointment, but it's good. I mean, they've came in and they're getting rid of the dead wood pretty quick. I mean, he's probably sat down with Russell Martin the start of the week, had a chat. Russell Martin's told him the way that it's going to be, and this is your role. And he's obviously not happy with. I mean, Ferguson had him on iPad duty, which is quite degrading in the dugout, basically watching the iPad, which was pretty brutal. So Martin's maybe told him it's going to be the same, and that's probably not what he signed up for when he came to Rangers. He was probably told that he was. I mean, he was quite highly thought of before he came to Rangers, and I think he did the under-21s with Morocco or under-23s or something like that. So he was probably promised by Coppin that he would be Rangers manager within 6 months, and he keeps getting demoted. So good luck to the man. I mean, it was a bit of a, what can you say? There's not really that much to say. We don't know what's been going on behind the scenes and how he was on the training ground and stuff like that. So he's gone. I think it's the right thing for Martin to do, is just a clean sweep, like Kerr said, get his own guys in. He needs a goalkeeping coach. He needs 2 or 3 more coaches in to help him. I'm sure they've started on that in the background, and that's what we need. So he needs all the help he's going to get, Martin. It's a massive job that he's taken on. So good luck to the man, and I hope he enjoyed his time in Glasgow, and wish him all the best.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that, but what do I want to say first? So, Linda, thanks for joining us. Avid viewer, watches every single episode. Happy birthday to you from all 3 of us on the panel.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, and we appreciate you watching every single week, and hopefully you had a great day. So, in terms of, I suppose, just before we actually get into the meeting, you were telling me, Ricky, it's been a bit of a turbulent time for you over in Cyprus. Things are a little bit scary.
No good. I'm not in Cyprus. I'm in worse than that. I'm in the Middle East, mate. So
At least,
I'm
sorry,
right next to Iran. So I've seen Desser's shots. There's Desser's shots are going past my head every 5 minutes. So it's no. I'm not exactly in the best place to be as if these things are going on. But it is what it is. That's why I'm home on Sunday, so a bit safer. And then I go to the other side where the rockets are getting fired beside Israel. Cyprus is pretty close, but no, it is what it is, mate. You just need to get on with it.
And Scott, you're in Paisley, so you're probably quite used to that as well. Then the rockets can buy more often, not maybe different kind of rockets.
That's I'm not going to say anything, Gary. I stay here, so I'm not going to say anything. Listen, you could be right enough, but no, listen, there's always a lot of stuff going in Paisley. Some it good, some it not very good, but it's probably everywhere nowadays, isn't it?
No, and there's a lot of nice stuff open in Paisley. I take a lot of that back, so I'm also there a lot. So there's
But you've not been up the high street recently, Gary.
It's not great. It's not great.
No, it's awful. It's a lot of wee towns there. There's not a lot in them because they're building places like Braehead, Silverburn, and then the shop shut down because can't afford the rates for the council and stuff like that. And then people don't shop as much. I think they do a lot of stuff online, but it's not great. The only thing that's up Paisley town centre is probably pound shops and vape shops and a couple of things. Barbers, there's a lot of barbers, man. There's a barbers every 3 shops. There's a barbers, man. How many Turkish barbers do you actually need?
Some would say that's allegedly man in London, but we won't get into that sort of topic. So that's for a whole different show, I'd imagine.
Different podcast, mate. Different podcast.
Different podcast. Let's not get all political.
We're not a crime podcast. We're a Rangers podcast.
We will be next week when Ricky's been bombed at his house.
Yes. So it's a week on, Ricky. Let's move on to Rangers. Right, it's a week on from Russell Martin's appointment. I think there was a lot of apathy, maybe the best way, and that was being generous, perhaps. Over the course of last week, there's been lots of talk, lots of reviews about his style, lots of people watching every single podcast, particularly the Rest is Football one with Gary Lineker. What's your thoughts, probably a week in the line of Russell Martin being the manager?
You've got to give him a chance. I'm quite excited about it. As I said, when the dust settled and you sort of took a backward step and you looked at the people that the options were when it was between him and Ancelotti, and the way Ancelotti ran back to his dad in Brazil didn't exactly fill you full of confidence that he was ready. I mean, if he was that ready to be a manager, he probably would have took another job, and it would have been interesting to see how he would have got on. But we've got Russell Martin now. I mean, I've seen a few podcasts that are super worrying, but in another way, it doesn't really worry me because I think they know that Rangers is a complete different ball game from the clubs he's been at before. But I don't know if you caught the Swansea. There was one with Swansea. The fan was on. I think it was with Derek Clark from the Review. I think it was, and he was going on about, he needs time. He needs for the first 4 or 5 months. It'll be a disaster, and you're thinking, mate, you're on a Rangers podcast. If you think Russell Martin, who's already starting behind the 8 ball, is going to get 4 or 5 months, I mean, we had that last year. We'll come on, it'll be better at Christmas time, and we were getting pumped off St Mirren and Motherwell in games like we're 2-0 down, complete shit show. So Russell Martin, but I think he's smart enough. He knows he needs to hit the ground running, and if we can see improvements, then it'll be very interesting. I know people are getting itchy feet for signings and stuff, but the window's not even open yet. It's been a strange summer. I mean, I saw Man City arriving in America today, and it's like it's been such a weird summer already. These guys not getting a break and stuff like that. But it's so it'll be. He started on Tuesday, I think he started, so he's obviously putting the plans in place. I'm sure a lot of discussions going on with him and Felwell. And then I think when the window opens on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, I think you're going to start seeing things moving very, very fast. And I think you'll see, I would expect quite a lot of movement next week, and quite a lot of players they'll probably want in the door before we start pre-season. How many that will be is anyone's guess, but I think there will be movement before the players come back for pre-season, because we need it, because right now we've got half a squad, so it'll be very interesting.
No, I'd agree, and I think certainly for me, I watched, and I will pick up the Rest of the Football podcast was the main one I watched with Gary Lineker. It's interesting when you listen, because I hadn't paid enough a lot of attention, but when he talks about his history and how that shaped his kind of style and his leadership, and he had a lot of interesting stuff that actually made sense. You know, I mean, I've without showing off, because I'm sure I've got the green management, so a lot of stuff he was talking about made a lot of sense about how you lead people, and it came across well. Whether that transmits into when he plays, when he actually does the coaching. He certainly knows, I suppose, those the kind of approach stuff around obviously his family background, all those sort of issues he had, helped him kind of be the man of the house and lead and know how to deal with people and all those sort of things. Do him potentially make a good leader. Do you know, the attributes and the sound bites he came out with all sounded very positive. Now, the proof will be the pudding. Results will be the thing that matters when it comes to it. But certainly, I'm a lot more confident this time than I was maybe a week and a half ago when we were all talking about Ancelotti. Scott?
I think it's just one of these things, Gary. We can all talk a good game. And I've not watched the Gary Lineker podcast for one reason. I don't like Gary Lineker, so don't give me airtime. That's just the reason I don't watch him. Don't give me airtime. But I seen him in Monday Night Football talking with Carragher a while back, and listen, he's very intelligent. He knows a lot about football, but I told you a lot of managers is transferring onto the pitch and getting the players to follow your instructions and stuff like that. It might be more difficult for him at Rangers, but all we can do is wait and see. Listen, I do agree in a way when Ricky mentioned time. I do agree he does need a bit of time. Will I get it? Probably not, because that's what football fans are like, but he will, because I know I was champing at a bit for Clement to go, but I don't want to be sitting here this time next year talking about an manager. I
No.
think but saying that, if there's no progress and we're still stagnating or even getting back away, he won't get it. But if you see a wee bit of progress in what he's trying to do and stuff like that, then he will get time. He won't get hundreds of time. He won't get a lot of time, but he will get time. But I think once a few signings come in the door and a few players leave, and we see how that happens, that gets fans more excited when we start to sign people. And we have been linked with a few players for England, and some of the names that's been linked with are actually really good players. I like the boy Harry Darlin, like Mark said. I also like the boy Harry Toffel. I mean, I recognised him myself a few years ago, and coming through ranks, he can play centre back or left back. Connor Cody is a very good player. He's a bit slow, but he's a very good player. So it's just depending on what we've got to spend. Players going out, what we've got to spend to get players. I mean, I think also depends if it's Agaman and Raskin and Deal leave. If they three leave, then that's a lot of people. That's three guys, quality guys. You have to find cover for straight away. Even cover replacements. So I think it depends who goes out the door. I'm hoping Raskin stays, but I don't think he will. I think because we've been playing with Belgium now, I think there's more and more clubs interested. And what will it take to sign him? I don't know. I think you could probably take 15. Between 10 and 15, the board might look at it seriously. I know we all want more, and we do. We want saying 20, 25, stuff like that, but I think the board might. It depends what his contract says as well, but I would like him to stay for another season. I know everybody says, I don't know how you two feel, he's got 2 years left, so we have to sell him. Do you really? You still get a year after that? Do you really have to punt him with 2 years? I think it just depends what the offers come in and who we get as well. So there's going to be a lot of, like I said about Clement, he's got a jigsaw he has to build, and Martin's the same. Just hope he can build it without leaving pieces or finding an extra piece for another jigsaw.
No, you're right, and we'll go through a lot of the transfer rumours in and out over the course of the next 45 minutes or so, because there is lots. I mean, some you believe, some you won't believe, and so forth. You talked earlier on, Ricky, about his need now, obviously with Shirai leaving. There's been a lot of talk this week anyway about coaches being interviewed and coaches being considered and all sort of stuff that goes with it. I suppose the question is, do you need a Scottish or Rangers based or some sort of coach that is the more Ross mould or whoever it's Stephen Naismith or whoever it may be, that's in the background?
No, but Russell Martin. Russell Martin's played for Rangers. He knows Scottish football. He knows these grounds that he's going to be going to. He's been to most of them when he was up here as a player. Russell Martin needs good players, mate. He doesn't. You can give him any coaches as you want, There's other managers came to Scotland with no coaches and won the league in their first season. So Russell Martin needs players that are going to suit the style of football he wants to play. He's a very stubborn man and a stubborn manager, and that can be good and it can be a bad thing and it can be a good thing, right? But the coaches that are going to be there are going to be really there to support him. So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I've seen people debating it today, like, he needs a Neil McCann. He needs a Morris Ross. And it's like Barry Ferguson just had a Neil McCann and a Billy Dodge, and we probably went backwards on the way we were playing under Clement. So Russell Martin knows he wants to play fast, attractive, keep the ball, possession-based football. He needs the players, like Kerr just said, jigsaw pieces, and many of them he needs almost a new team if we're going to be losing players like Raskin, Diamande, Igaman. I think I don't know what you guys are thinking, but this early transfers have been crazy. Some of the fees and everything. I mean, the Galatasaray signing Sane, like paying him like 300, 400k a week. How are they getting that money in Turkey? The football's just gone
Barbers,
absolutely
all the
mental.
barbers.
All the barbers in Paisley, man, laundering that money to Leroy Sané. But it's crazy, man, how these teams are affording, like, because they're playing a league that you think similar to ours, and it's like we swag Galatasaray, and we can't afford to give someone 15 grand a week, and they're like you said, all these Turkish barbers. We need Glasgow Rangers barbers. Get Glasgow Rangers barbers opened everywhere. But no, so it'll be that he needs good players, Gary. It's all about players for me, coaches and all that. I don't care who's coming in. I got excited because McGregor was going to be the goalkeeper coach, but if Ross was on this pod and he might come on, he would say exactly the same thing. He's no the goalkeeping coach you need for Russell Martin, because the goalkeeper has to play out from the back. So you need someone that can teach a player or at least support him to be playing out from the back. And the other coaches that come in, I mean, that assistant coach, nobody's heard of him. Nobody knows anything about him. So it'll be interesting, but it's all about the players for me.
And what about you on that, Scott? You know, he certainly needs more bodies in, right? So I think the coach is probably not big enough. The team isn't big enough at the moment. Would you be looking to bring someone in with some sort of know the league, know the low block, know the style, all that sort of stuff, or is it just who works well with him?
To be honest with you, I think he probably knows that anyway, Gary. He's probably watched quite a few games on and off. He's probably, since he's been in the reckoning for this job, he's probably done his homework as well. And he's probably looked back some other stuff since he's been in this position. So I think he knows it. Listen, it's easy enough to say bring in somebody that knows the league. But as long as he can bring in a competent coach, that's all I'm asking for. Somebody that can coach him in the park, can set up things that he wants and give instructions that they can listen to. And this low block thing, I think it's more, we use it more as an excuse than we should. Because I mean, them across the city get done to him, and they just steamroll by it a lot of times, you know, that way. Whereas we struggle at times. So I think it's more personnel wise, maybe a different structure we have to do. But the low block's only good if you don't know how to, if you don't get a player that can be. You should be able to get around. If you're using that as an excuse for the players we've got in that squad, then Russell Martin's in serious problems. Do you know that way? Because there's some games they go play against sides and they win 3-4-0, and then there's other teams that play against teams and we struggle because one long ball and we're snookered basically. So I think he just has to get his own system to suit. That might be difficult with some of the players he's got there, but that's he's up to him. I know he's come in and he said he wants to see everybody to give him a chance. Most managers say these things, but they know deep down a lot of them are not going to be here. But it's very hard to get other players if they're under contract and nobody else wants them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No manager's going to come and say, all these guys are going to go. Do you know, they're always going to come and say, but this is what I've got, I'm going to work with them, and it's up to them to prove me right. You know, that's no anything.
You might get one or two to surprise you, to be honest with you, but I think he knows the majority. He's going to have to try and, obviously there's going to be their agents, there's going to be the club working with clubs to try and get them out. But when people know you want other players as well, it can be difficult because what they're offering you, what you want, is two different things. But if a player wants out to go at the end of the day, because Big Proper, he wants away, but he wants to speak to the manager. If I was Russell Martin, I would say to Proper, thanks for coming to Rangers, give it a try, but enjoy yourself back in Holland. See you later. I wouldn't say much else to him because I don't think he suits your style of play, and I don't think he's good enough.
And I think, do you know, a lot of this is just paper talk, isn't it? Do you know, at the end of the day, I mean, he's watched the games from the January, so he knows how they played, how they performed. So I don't think a lot of these saying about they want conversation about that. I don't think there's really much in that. It might just be confirmation that it's all accepted. See, just want to talk about low block and some of that popped up there. So I did watch a Rangers review podcast with the Leeds. It was the Leeds one, I think it was. No, Leeds. Southampton one.
Swansea.
No, Southampton one.
I think they've done them all, man.
But the Southampton one was really interesting. I think he said he was particularly good at low blocks, wasn't it? Because they're a possession-based team, and what they can do if they've got the ball closer to the goal, they're more likely to create more chances, which makes common sense, to be honest with you. So I don't think there was, from his view, there wasn't any concern that the defensive nature of Scottish football would actually benefit rather than hinder potentially.
Yeah, because it's about tempo. Football's about tempo. If he comes in and plays geo ball and it looks like geo ball and the players are just standing and they're trying to pass it, side to side to side to side. Listen, the fans will be on his back right away because the fans are still. It doesn't matter about this takeover. The takeover was fresh for about 5 days, and then Russell Martin was announced, and that sort of like burst everyone's bubble. And then we sort of like blew the bubble back up, and it was like, okay, let's get behind this because it's a new structure and everything's in place. But if we're watching Geoball and it's ticky-tacky side, and there's no penetration, the fans will be bored out their brain cells and they'll be letting the players know at Ibrox. So for me, as long as the tempo is good and the movement is good and you're pulling players about and we've got fullbacks and everyone knows, and it can be super exciting to watch. If you remember that season in the First Division with Warburton, I mean, we all went tits up when we got promoted, but in the First Division, it was brilliant. Remember,
Planny was great.
Planny was great when we had better players than everyone in the division, and we were like turning up, and it was so exciting to watch. It's like, what the hell was that? We won 7-0. It was so good. So if we can get that in the Premier League and we're competing, then fans will be excited. But it's not just a low block. And to be fair, Gary, a lot of teams didn't even play a low block against Rangers last season. We come on. A lot of teams came and just like Motherwell came and absolutely played us off the park. Hibs came and played us off the park. So many teams actually had a go at us and said, "Look, we're just as good as Rangers," and they showed it on the day. That like Ferguson couldn't. We didn't dominate many games after Ferguson came in, and it was the same under Comont. So we will see.
Yeah. No, lots of comments. People agree with me and everything, Ricky. So I don't know if Doug's had a few drinks, but he's on there agreeing with you there. So that's good to see. Do you know, just talk about Clement? I listened to the podcast on BBC Scotland with him last week. So it was quite interesting. I thought the timing that it came out a couple of days after Russell Martin being announced. I thought if you've been left the club at a strange time to come out and start to talk about it. You can always make excuses from Ricky. You know, the hard hand he was dealt and all the stuff that went with it. He was certainly very, what's the word I was looking for? I suppose still stubborn that he was going to get it right, but the circumstances around about him was more the failure than his own failings. I think would be fair to say. My take on it.
I rewrote history a little bit with the way that he was. I wish they didn't listen to the fans and they gave him more time. You got beat by Queen's Park, mate. You're in the record books. You're in the record books for some of our worst, like things that have never happened in our history. 150 odd years of history, and you're in the record books for losing to Queen's Park, worst ever run at Ibrox, which he had a big part in that. So, come on, mate. You know, you're like, listen. You can give the guy a little bit of slack because he wasn't back to last season. I mean, this is when maybe whispers started to come about the takeover for the board. So they went, okay, let's keep the money, and so you can defend him a little bit there, but it was brutal in the end. Let's not rewrite history like Comont did. He had to go. All the managers that have been sacked since Gerrard had to go, Gary. You could go through them one by one. People rewrite about Van Bronckhorst. If he'd the football was dire. Michael Beale was a disaster, and he's in that category of an absolute disaster as well. So let's not rewrite history like Comont was trying to do.
And Scott, pretty much know your answer to that same question, really, don't you? You know, it was, you can start your sense with, I knew he was a bad one when he joined.
So grapes, that's all I'm going to say. So grapes, man. The guy's living in his own head, and he's a legend in his own living room. No, I didn't even watch it because I knew he was going to say. I just seen clips of it on Twitter, couple on YouTube. But a lot of managers do that, Gary, but they blame other stuff around the club or decisions that they don't make. It's caused this. But in the day, he spoke nonsense, didn't he? He spoke up. Ever since that Marvel defeat, he just went, oh. It's just died for him, and he couldn't get it back. The players stopped listening to him, and he couldn't get it back. And that was only his fault. And that's how he said we'll improve. He went through the calendar, didn't he? Every month he went through the calendar until I get the sack. We were still wanting to improve. But listen, if he goes, no doubt he'll get a job elsewhere because he's a manager with a record of winning stuff, and he'll probably get a job elsewhere. But him and Rangers just wasn't suitable, and he should have just said that's enough. But to come back and say that, he'll probably write a book, probably about 3 chapters on it when he writes a book, no doubt.
There's one of those things. The timing was a little bit odd, just to do it a couple of days after the new manager was announced. You kind of think it's about just stepping in some a dead man's shoes kind of thing, innit?
But Gary, I think that was the BBC because they had Michael Beale on as well. That clown, that little goblin from the BBC, McLaughlin, man. He was behind Ibrox with a camera taking the worst picture he could at Ibrox. He's an absolute little gremlin, man. So you need Cherny to scoosh water on him so that he explodes into 1,000 and disappears, because he is a horrible little goblin. And that it was the BBC there's still little digs here and there they got come on, and then they had Michael Beale, and then they had him at Ibrox and then they wrote an article last week about is American money good for Scottish football? You're like, guys, are you having a laugh? How many teams in Scotland has been bought over by Americans? When they come into Rangers and invest, I replied to them and like, no, mate, an American investor putting 95 million into Scottish football is so bad. Let's just let Celtic win 30 in a row. It's so stupid. The crap that the BBC still they're coming up with little digs, and I hope Rangers are monitoring it because it's shocking.
I'm just going to pick up this comment for Robert because I suppose it's going to come up at some point during the night, no doubt. So we'll quickly cover it now. So Russell Martin was quite unequivocal straight out this week. Obviously, a question was asked regularly, and he made it quite clear that Tav will be the club captain, whether he plays and caps the team in the starting will depend very much on how he performs. I suppose that's kind of what he said.
Gary, Tav will survive World War III, mate. World War III will happen, and then we'll all disappear for 10 years, and we'll come back, and Tav will still be Rangers captain, Rangers right back.
What you should do, Ricky, it's obviously slightly worrying where you are now. You should have Tav lying beside you. That's the way you know you were safe. There's nothing going to happen to you with any bombs. That's the safest place you could be. But no, I think it's in some ways it's probably good to get out of the way early, because then people could just go on about it for a while. I think Scott in it, because it was quite quick and saying that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously that was one of the first questions he was asked when mentioning Tavernier. I think it's because the media will say it, but everybody knows he's been here too long. Been at Rangers probably 2 seasons too long. His legs are away. He's not giving you the same as he was, and that's not down to him. Like I've said in the past, it's straight. It's down to recruitment, not by anybody who can fill in that position as well. But you think somebody coming in new? I mean, Martin played with Tav, and how long ago was that? Do you know what I mean? Yet he's still going to trust him as his captain. It's like, come on, bring in somebody fresh, somebody younger, get the team moving forward, and say to Tavernier, thanks for what you've done. Have a testimonial, and we'll catch you next to never, and you can come back when you're retired and do the draw at half time, stuff like that. But he's going to end up. He's Tavernier's went for here because he signed with obviously winning the championship. He done really well, and he's one of the ones that a lot of games pulled us out the bag. A lot of time he pulled us out the bag himself, dragging us back into the game, getting equaliser, getting a winner. But he had a peak where...
See if he stays, we do get success under Martin, and is that the right time to go? So just if you look at it the other way.
It probably is, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere, Gary. I think
We've all got 1 year left.
I know, but I think he is happy here. I think he is happy at Rangers. I think he's used to criticism now. I think he's had it for the last couple of seasons. It's like water off a duck's back him. I don't think it bores him. It might bore him deep down if you asked him, but I think he thinks, well, I've only a year left to suffer this, and if I can walk away with another medal, I'll be happy. But I do think some players just stay at a club too long, and I think that's what Tav's done, because for what we bought him for what the journey he's been on has been really good. It's been fantastic in his eyes, and you think, well, maybe the year we win the league, the year after, when we got to Europa League finals, you left. I think a lot of players hit their peak then, but he stuck around, and because he stuck around, anything that happens to Rangers, no matter if it's his fault or not, he's getting the brunt of the blame.
So see, sticking just on not on Tab, but on, I've seen a few times Mark's put this maybe a few times in the last couple of weeks about Nathan Patterson. Now, I'm not sure where Nathan Patterson is as a footballer now, Ricky, but he doesn't seem to be anywhere close to even the Scotland game. I don't know if did he play in the Scotland game the last couple of weeks?
Nope. No, it's the way he tackles, mate. He's so ferocious with the way he tackles. It seems to be like a recurring theme that he comes back into the team, and then every sort of like when he manages to get back in the team after 3-4 months, he'll have like a crunching tackle, and that'll be him out for another 4 or 5 months. He's no use for us, Patterson. I can't see Patterson coming back to Rangers anyway, to be honest with you. And on the Tavernier thing, Gary, right? It's about form for me. Like, it doesn't matter who the player is, and even Butland, Tav, like I don't think. I don't like. We can say they're no suited to a Martin team. They've stayed too long, stayed too this. Tav last season, if you take away the captain thing, just the way he played in the team, he had sporadic moments of the old Tav, like good for him. He was banging.
Still the most assists, wasn't he? Still the most assists for the Rangers.
He still did, Gary. But a lot of times, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. The guy's Teflon, man. He's made of what he's made of is ridiculous. How many games the guy can play. And that's not his fault that he had to play all the time and stuff like that. But it's all about his form for me. If you start a fresh manager and a fresh team, if Tav starts and he's giving away goals and he looks lazy and he looks lethargic, then he's got to be taken out of that team. And the young guy, if it's Milligan, I've heard 50-50. That's the thing about Rangers Twitter. I heard he'd signed last night, and then I heard we weren't interested in him anymore because that was a Coppin signing. So you just don't know. But whoever comes in to right back to challenge Tav, then it's all about his form for me, and that goes for every player. But we need an option. That's the thing. Like, Tav has to play. He gets stick and he gets slagged, but he's their only right back option because Sterling has got a different serious injury every time he comes into the team. So this is what needs to be addressed from Farewell. He needs a backup option so that if Tav's form does dip, we've got someone else to come into the team, and hopefully that's what we'll see in the next couple of weeks.
No, I think I had a glance during the week for something. I think he played something. It was 53 games. I can't remember exact figures last year. 53 games, but on average, 50 games a season for the last 10 years, I think, in it, which is no acceptable for him to really, you know, and probably put Yilmaz, Sterling, and 10 other players combined to even make halfway that is in some ways. So, as you said, you know, he should be getting phased out. We all know that. But I think we don't really need to hear a debate about being captain. At least that's been closed off for the meantime. Mulligan, but sticking with Mulligan, Scott, you know, I one day I'd read something when I was flicking through and it said that he signed, and the next thing it was all quiet again. So is he one that's still on the agenda, do you think, or has it just been a lot of paper talk?
I don't know. I think a lot of these signs you read, half it's not true, Gary, do you know what I mean? But I don't know. I like Josh Miller, I think he's decent, but I don't know if they're going to go down that route. Are we maybe looking at somebody else? As Mark maybe get somebody else, or Othello get somebody else in there? They'll be booked because obviously, like you mentioned, that maybe it's a Coppin signing. I don't know. I think it'd be decent. I think it'd be a good signing for us. I think it would come in, maybe not start as much, and maybe learn under Tav and then go into the first team. But I think, well, he knows the league. He's a young Scottish guy. You can see he's decent going forward. He can defend. So he kind of ticks all the boxes that you want, because I know every player's going to cost you a lot of money, because you have to be clever with your recruitment, and I think he would tick that box. But will we get him? I don't know. Like I say, I don't know if Thilman's get maybe another option, or maybe he's decided himself to go elsewhere.
Yeah, quite possibly. And Ricky, sticking with them, the players that they were not going to get in. So for the last, and I thought maybe Ross might have been on, so we could have talked about that, but he's not on yet. He's not made it home. Lawrence Shankland, I believe, is on his way to West Brom. Is that the rumour that seems to be being suggested again? To me, it seemed a no-brainer, but I don't know why that's not went anywhere.
Yeah, I think it looks like we've got. To be fair though, I think we're looking at younger, like better options that they think is better suited. We've been linked with a guy Turgaman, and there's another guy for Croatia that looks like €7.5 million they're speaking about. So that'll be the Dessers money. Woohoo! That'll be going to pay for that. So it'll be celebrations with me. I'll be eating a lot of chocolate once that goes through. But no. So I don't think Shankland, if it looks like Rangers doesn't want him, at the end of the day, it's up to the club. And he does play in a two at Hearts and stuff like that. So with Martin coming in, would he suit Martin's system? Probably not. So I think Rangers has probably moved on from that. So we'll see.
Evening, Ross. Perfect timing there. I don't know if you knew that you were listening there for a moment. So I was literally talking about Lawrence Shankland until it appears that he's on his way to West Brom. So we've been talking for the last season, about it was a no-brainer that we'd sign him, and it seems that he's the one that got away.
It's disappointing, isn't it? Hello, everybody, by the way. Good to
welcome. Say hello.
It's my wonderful assistant.
Nice t-shirt, man. I like your t-shirt's looking cool, man. Very nice.
I get mine in as well the other day. It's quality.
Yeah, it's a good product. Buy them at all your Union Bell stores around about the grounds. Mate, Shankland, it would so happen when we get rid of Dessers and he's already looks as if he's agreed a deal elsewhere. It's disappointing, man. I just feel as if he would give us everything Dessers gives us as a sort of second or third choice striker. Honestly, man, is he still here? Scott, he would give you everything Dessers gave you for a fraction of the wages and recouping your money back. But interesting to see the way we go. I take it he's of spoke. Sorry, I'm late, by the way. I was out for dinner. But
so we don't talk about transfers, rumours, right? Which can run the other stuff that's happened. So we're just moving on to transfer rumours now. How are you, Ross? Anyway, how you been?
I'm good. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I was out for a bit of dinner there down at Cole's mum and dad's. So our dad was at the Boozer, so he was a bit late in. So dinner started late, and I was coming along the boulevard trying to get in so I could jump on for a wee bit and catch up with you. I feel as if I've not been on for ages.
It's been since the live show. No seen you since then, really.
Listen, no many folk have seen me since the live show, Gary. Cole's not even seen me since the live show. She's still casting that £100 up I spent on a portrait, man.
It should be behind you. Where is it?
It's under the bed, mate. Every time she looks at it, she starts throwing things at me. So I better just keep it. It's under wraps now.
So I we just started talking about Shankland and Josh Mulligan. So it looks like those two Scottish players that were coming for free potentially are not going to be there. So we maybe move on to where they're looking in terms of transfer targets. And we've got, names are difficult to say. Turgeman, is it? And what's the other boy called? The other striker, Frijan or something. £10 million worth of Croatian and I don't know what Turgeman is. Israeli striker, Ricky. Do you know much about them?
No, well, just that guy that used to be on the review, Kai. I quite like his stuff on X. I think the guy's quite clued up with scouting reports, and I've been following the stuff that he's been going on about for the last 2 weeks, especially the Croatian guy. He seems to be the one that's a bit more advanced. The other one's a bit more of a project striker, so holds the ball up well. I mean, Rangers and a Croatian striker, it doesn't get much better than that. Hopefully, he comes with a headband, bit of blood coming out of the head would be nice. 21-year-old, both young, so it shows that we are probably looking to. We'll probably bring in some experience, but it looks like we are trying to build a young team, sprinkling of experience here and there. So, and it's big money as well. €7.5 million, probably looking at for both of them. So it shows that there will be two strikers moving on, probably Egeman and probably obviously Dessers looking like he's away to AK Athens. So it looks like it's going to be a complete new team next season, which is going to be interesting. It'll be a shame with Egeman, just to touch on him for a minute, because he was so exciting his debut season. It would have been nice to see him for one more season, because I think Barry Ferguson, when he came in, what he was playing at, not giving him any minutes, was absolute madness, Gary. He should have been given number 9, he should have been given a lot more opportunities than he was from Ferguson. So he had that spell where he was absolute dynamite away to Hibs. I was thinking about it earlier, so it'll be a shame if we never see him in a Rangers jersey again. But it's for, and it helps us build a team, a bit more money in the kitty, then I'm all for it.
I think, Scott, I suppose it's quite interesting then that we are most heavily linked with a couple of strikers, isn't it? You know, because it's probably not the area you pick first. You maybe go for centre half or left back or a goalkeeper, a whole host of other positions maybe before you went strikers, and we've got 3 at the moment. 2 of them do a decent job.
I think, every manager wants to bring in their own striker, don't they? And I think the guys who like me look decent. They do look decent. I think there always one's going to go out. I think it's more harder to move on Danilo. He's probably got a longer contract, and the next time he costs us a bit of money, you're just not going to give him away for nothing, are you? Whereas Dessers wasn't as much, and he's scoring goals, so you're going to get that money back, maybe slightly more, but you're going to get your money back for Dessers. And Egeman, you're going to make money on because his potential's, his ceiling is very high at this moment in time. So you're going to be able to, people pay for potential because you can see what he's done, and you can see what he will do in the future. So I'm actually, listen, we'll miss Dessers in a way. I know we'll criticise him, but he'll miss his goal. Somebody has to come in and score the same amount of goals he's been scoring. If it doesn't, then it's pointless bringing somebody in. But Egeman, I'm going to miss more because I think his ceiling was high. I like to see him another season, Gary. I think he had so much stuff to learn, but so much stuff to offer us. And I thought Barry Ferguson threw him under a bus a few times. He was blaming the young boy for things when it was maybe Ferguson and his staff it was issue, or maybe picking other players. But listen, wherever Dessers go, if I think Athens, good luck to him. And like man, I see him being either an English Premiership or a Liga or Germany or something one day, and we'll look back and think we watched him at Ibrox. I think he's going to be that good.
Yeah. Mark's just put a comment out there, didn't deal his contract, loan him and loan out Cortez. I don't think you can afford to loan these guys out. You might be selling them if anything. Ross, I don't think they're likely to go on loan anywhere. I think you'd be looking, certainly for Danilo, you'd look to sell them and recoup as much as you possibly can.
Mate, I think it's make or break for Danilo, innit? Because you're looking at a guy who, when he's fit, he looks as if he could fit into a Russell Martin team. He can finish. He can definitely finish. He's quite good with the press. Some of his movements quite clever. I think, as we've spoken here before, I think he brought out the best in Igamani when they played together for the few games. Cortez, as I've said before, I just don't see it with Cortez. I watched him warming up pretty close. The first game of last season when they did a full pre-season and he couldn't trap a bag of cement. So that didn't scream out quality to me. But maybe coming in under somebody who's got a different philosophy of football suit the two of them, Gary. But there's absolutely no danger they'll go on loan. Put it that way. There's no danger if they're not making inroads into playing in the first team, then we need to get them off the wage budget. There's no point sending them to somebody that will not cover their full wages and paying 40% of their wages, but not having them here to play. I think ideally on both, if you could get rid of them, you would, and bring in people that are going to be a bit more resilient to the football up here. But that all comes back to what we spoke about with Coppin last year. It was as if he built a squad for a different league with good players that just can't handle the physicality and the expectations of Scottish football.
No, definitely. I see another comment from Mark. I'm just trying to pick up on this. He mentions it a few times in the last week. Seema, Ricky, Seema's got a worse injury, as bad an injury record as Ridvan. I getting a good season with us, but he's injury prone.
He signed a new deal, eh? He signed a new deal last week with Brighton.
Did he?
Aye. He signed a new deal with Brighton, so they're obviously planning to give him a chance under this manager, or they might be planning to get decent money for him because I think he had 1 year left, but he signed a new deal. There was a host of players. They signed James Milner, man. Really? Jesus Christ. He's
what?
He signed a contract with him again today as well, which was so that's not happening. Seems not happening with Rangers. He's out of our budget. Wage budget and price to sign him now. It's not happening.
Ross, I just ask you something because it's just popped in my head. It's not even relevant to Rangers, but you're a specialist goalkeeper advisor. Scotland last week. Slicker, or whatever the boy's name was, who'd never played a first team game in his life. What did you make of that when the chucking him in for different angles, poor boy?
Got to tell you something, Gary. See, if Scotland were playing out in my back garden, I'd actually got up off the couch to shut the curtains, mate. That's I would absolutely no interest in them whatsoever, to be honest.
Well,
that's that point closed off then.
That's that point closed off, mate. But what I will tell you is the fact that we're picking guys for squads that have never played a competitive game when there's Scottish goalkeepers playing in the SPFL, and we're going to England and picking a boy who's never even played a competitive minute at professional level is bonkers, mate, for me. Look at some of the boys that are playing in the Championship. There must be the boy Hogarth and people like that. There must be a better option that's at least got some sort of professional experience. Because all you do there really is put somebody in for the biggest moment of their professional career, playing at international level, which is, to me, is just bonkers. Because see now, he's probably cost that boy an international career.
Aye.
Because that's one of the absolute stinkers that will live with that boy forever. And any time he's called up for a squad again, folk will be like, oh, that's him with the poppadom horns.
Aye, no, it was a joke. I mean, as you say, his career's probably ruined. Fortunately, he's never played a first team game anyway, so maybe they didn't have anything to worry about. Scott, so Dessers to AK Athens, has been a lot of talk. I believe it seems to be they've agreed a wage with Dessers, not yet agreed a fee with Rangers. Ricky said earlier on, potential of up to £5 million. good deal in terms of his age, in terms of that. We're obviously, as you say, losing 50 goals over the last 109 games he's played or something like that. But if you can get that sort of money for a 31-year-old who's not necessarily going to fit the style of play, allegedly, it's a good move for Rangers potentially.
Potentially, Gary, but I think he's going to have to speak to the manager first before he does agree to move, doesn't he? I think he said that himself. He'd rather speak to the club to see what they... I think he has kind of said he'll go, but if Rangers want to keep him, if manager wants to keep him, I think he could do a U-turn and stay. Listen, it all depends on how Russell Martin sees this team performing next season. Is Dessers the answer? Depends how he wants to play. I don't think he will be, but you can't knock his goal scoring record. He has scored goals, and we criticise him. Yeah, he misses easy chances, but all strikers do miss easy chances. But if he'd assigned somebody who isn't called Dessers and scored the amount of goals, we'd probably all praising him. And it's just he's got a bad rap when it's stuck and it gets worse and worse and worse, especially for Ricky. Ricky hates him. Ricky's got a wee doll next time he sticks pins in.
If he's still here, Ricky, see that top behind you, get Dessers on the back of it. That's what we need.
No, listen, the guy, he's going to leave Rangers, and nobody's ever seen a player like Cyril Dessers in their entire life. Like how you can play the way he did against Fenerbahce away in Turkey, and he looked like R9, and then some of the other performances where he just running about like a headless chicken, he can't even trap a football it's just madness. But yeah, for me, you're never ever going to win a title with Cyril Dessers as your number 9, mate. It's just, I mean, Martin's team is all about pressing high, pressing fast, aggression. Everything that's Dessers, for me, that's just not his game whatsoever. He's a penalty box striker, but even though he doesn't move that much when he's in the box, but I just don't think I'll not be sad to see the back of Cyril Dessers, mate, as you've probably no surprise to hear. But I wish him all the best, mate. I mean, he had the heart of a lion. You can't fault him. He was always available. He tried his hardest and stuff like that. It was just weird that you couldn't get the best out of him all the time. If someone could unlock the good side of Dessers, and you could see that every single match. The guy that scored that goal against Dundee United, he goes on streaks. He goes on streaks where he scores unbelievable goals. But as an actual striker, I mean, for me personally, the team didn't play well when Ferguson chose Dessers as his number 9. And he was a big part. There was many reasons that the team didn't click. Many reasons the team was a disaster. But Dessers was a big part of the reason that when Ferguson came in, the football was basically shite for the time that he was here, and we never dominated matches. And for me, Dessers was a big part of
that. And Ross, I suppose then sticking on that, I want to pick on Dessers briefly for you. But I suppose the other one we talked earlier on about, I see lots of pods and lots of people in the know, those ones that kick about with Rangers, says that Raskin will almost certainly be away this summer. So I suppose on those two, we could add the Igman into that. I suppose they're the 3 big assets.
On Dessers, there's only one person more excited than me that Dessers is leaving, and it's that Stewart boy that wears the Preddies on the side of the park, because he's moved up to 32nd in the list for penalties for cup finals. Now Dessers is left. He's moved up one in the queue. The queue's out around the Edmonton Road, and Dessers was at the end of it for taking a pen in the cup final. But when it comes to getting his 50th goal, he'll be taking the ball off people. That's what I'll remember him for anyway. Mate, nobody, no single person can claim to be in the know with Rangers now, because all the big guns had Gerrard and Ancelotti, didn't they? So I don't think anybody's in the know with what's happening now. On Raskin, he's at that stage where you've got, because I spoke about Dessers, the whole place has went doom and gloom. Look at the darkness ended on my camera. Look, he's haunting me. On Raskin, you've got to sell him now, haven't you? See if he's not prepared to sign a new deal. He's just broke into the Belgium squad. Good chance he's going to go to a World Cup. Ideally, if you could get him to add an extra year on, Gary, that would take him up past the World Cup. And then if he's a good World Cup, you would hope to break it in with 2 years left on his deal at the end of next season. But it's very much in Raskin's hands with that in it, because if he doesn't want to sign a new deal, then you need to get rid of him for whatever offer you get from him. I seen Joshua Barry the other day on the review saying he reckons we would get 15 million from him, which I think is Now, everybody knows that my sweet prince, Joshua Barry, is the Rangers podcasting prince, but I think 15 million would be selling ourselves too short on this one. I think of some of the players that have been sold across the city and the money they've went for. I think Raskin's every bit as good, and I think that now we're not in a position where we need to sell to balance the books at the end of the season, that we should definitely be holding out and getting a price that we feel comfortable with. And who was the other one? Agamani, did you say?
Agaman, yeah.
So I did say at Christmas time last year, I reckoned 12 million, anything off of 12 million, we would have sold that. And then the second half of the season, as you have kind of alluded to, Barry Ferguson, if anything, depreciated his value rather than adding to it by playing him out of position to accommodate Dessers. So what's the kind of numbers they're talking about on him? 15 the last I read, 15 million-ish plus a sell on. Represents good value for money for me, Gary, until we might have the same standard of players as Celtic. We've proved we can go head to head with Celtic, but when it comes to holding trophies above your head, our players are always going to be tarred with the brush and not quite having it when it comes to the crunch. Yeah. Whereas theirs are serial winners at the moment, and that's unfortunately for us as Rangers fans, that's the way it is now.
I think that's a great point, actually, Ross. The fact of the matter is that because they're in a winning team, that adds millions of pounds onto the value. It's as simple until we start winning titles and trophies. It will be the case that we won't get as much. You can want the same amount as Matt O'Reilly and Brighton, but that's not going to happen at the moment just because we've not been winning. Somebody asked a question. I've seen a few things about FFP and just want to answer that quickly. I thought I've seen lots of things saying FFP or whatever it's called, sustainability isn't a big issue for us because of the way our accounts are structured. I don't think we do have problems in what we can spend. Scott, you've talked.
Just call yourself Man City, you'll be fine.
Aye, that's it. They can spend 200 million, or Chelsea's even better. They can spend even more for some reason. Raskin, Agaman, I could probably throw in Diamandi in that as well, Joe. You're talking potentially 40 plus million if you were to sell 3 or 4 of them. And it does, you're getting rid of your best players, but it gives you, I suppose, a starting point, plus the money from America, plus season tickets and all that stuff to really build something. Maybe not all in this window, but over the next couple of windows.
Yeah, it does give you a good starting point, but it means you're left with guys that you don't know if you can trust them. But listen, like Doug mentioned there, but Leeds have done it. Leeds done it a few seasons ago. Sell a few of the top players and brought in ones that some of the supporters didn't even like know of them, and then they've been promoted with these guys. So it's about how clever your recruitment is, and if you can sell your top players because you're getting offers like 50 million, then you bring in maybe 2 or 3 guys for that, maybe even more than that, just depending on what league you're shopping in and what you're buying, and going for maybe younger players as well. No, well, Agaman's young and so is Raskin, but we have to be clever in recruitment, Gary. That's the only way this works if recruitment's good. And this is what's let us down in the last probably, 10 years. You're looking back, our recruitment's been poor because we have spent a fair wad of money. But there's not many players we can say have set the hell on fire. A couple of loan players. Do you know that way? But there's not many we've brought in and sold for more. There's
Bassey, who's Fulham Player of the Year, is that right?
Bassey, yeah. We were lucky with Bassey. When Bassey came in, I thought he looked like Bambi, man, could try to cross the road. He was all over the place. But he developed into a very good footballer as a defender. He's not the greatest player, but he can defend, and that's what you need. He's solid, he's athletic, he's you just bounce away. But we have to be clever. Recruitment has to be clever. Because if that's the way we're going to go with Thilwell and Purdy doing the recruitment, obviously speaking to Martin, try to bring in players to bound to his structure and shape, then he's just hoping that whatever way they do it is going to work. But Agaman, Raskin, they're both worth more than we're saying, but people have made a point here. Ross, you mentioned it, Gary mentioned it, when you're winning cups and winning leagues constantly, you can sell players for more money, even like guys who don't play a lot, you can still sell them for more money. But when you're not winning a lot of stuff, people that will. He's been at Rangers for like 3 seasons. He's won sod all. So I'll give them a bare minimum of 10, 50 million. Whereas if he'd won the league and won the treble or something like that, well, I'll have to maybe give them 20, 25 just to get for talking's sake, like Matt Riley. So we have to start winning trophies as well, because if we don't, this leads to nowhere, and we're back here again talking nonsense. But you just hopefully Martin and the recruitment team work it out well and get his guys in who are suited to the league and suited to the way he wants to play.
I suppose it's a bit like the EPL tax as well, isn't it? You can be an average player in the English Premier League and you have to go for 10, 15, 20 million just because of that's the league you're playing. Doesn't mean to say you're worth that value. Ricky, I suppose, in terms of I've missed a lot of the kind of transfer news. Has there been any ones that excited you over the course of the week that we've not talked about?
Not just, the strikers is the ones that excite you. It's always the strikers. But, I'm a bit sick of it now, Gary, to be honest with you. I've not really been paying that much. I've been catching up with pods, as I always do, leaving them on in the background and stuff. But I've not really been... the highlight of the week for me was Trent Alexander being revealed at Real Madrid, speaking pure Spanish, man. That was... I know that's nothing to do with Rangers, mate, but that was the highlight of my week, man. He's got the Scousers on strings, man. The Liverpool fans are going absolutely bananas. But from Rangers' point of view, it's all been the same players. Even Celtic are getting linked with Mulligan, Penrice. We're all getting linked with the same players. There's a few from the Championship and there's a few from First Division in England that really worry me because, and to be fair, I don't really watch that much football down there. I like the defensive players we've been linked with down there, but like that winger from Peterborough and that, he looked a bit like Matondo to me, like out PTSD for Matondo. With the highlights I watched, I can't remember the guy's name. There was a Poku, and so there's been a few that I think to myself, but I would like us to bring in a few players that have played under Martin before, because for me, especially in the defence and stuff like that, that sort of gives them a head start. I watched I was watching a podcast earlier, and they were saying that they reckon that Connor Cody is pretty close from. I don't know where there's that, but like Ross says, it's just people. Nobody knows what's going on.
We can say that if we want each week, just for a laugh.
Yeah. I will give you an exclusive. Connor Cody's and Ross. Kerr's sister's seen him in Cameron House for sure. So anyway, we will see, mate. We will see. But hopefully next week, once the transfer window opens for real, we'll start seeing some players revealed with the blue scarf and the blue jerseys up. And let's get this transfer window started. It'd be good. But if we sell Raskin and stuff like that, like you said, that gives Felwell's probably looking at different ideas with different budgets with Purdy, how they can rebuild the squad. Because if you add 25 million here and 15 million here, if you get rid of Egerman and Dessers and you bring in two highly thought of young strikers, and you've got 10 million profit, man. That's a great start to the window. So if they're doing business like that, like they did at Leeds, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's and I suppose, Ross, one of the other things you need to do is get rid of the dross. I keep seeing it in the chat a few times. So you're seeing guys like Dowell, Davies, Proper saying they want to wait and see what's happening with Russell Martin and what the plans are for the future before they move on. Do you think there's a future for any of those kind of Matondo, all these guys that are kind of skirting around the edges over the last couple of years, or do you think it's just a matter of trying to find buyers for them?
I think it should be curtains for them, but again, see if you put yourself in Russell Martin's shoes and you're coming in and you've got a Matondo that cost 4 million, previously moved for 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever it was. You've got a Ben Davies, played at Liverpool, can get on the ball. Maybe Russell Martin does want to have a look at him, because we're looking at a total overhaul of how we play. See, Ben Davies, would he be quite happy that Ben Davies is weak as piss because he can play the ball out for the back? Is he happy to take away the physicality and think, well, as long as he's good with the ball at his feet and we can control what's going on about him, he shouldn't really need to be going and colliding with players and winning headers because we'll have the ball and we'll be pressing them and they'll not be able to put crosses in. Matondo, is he another one that maybe is rather than playing him out on the left wing and asking him to hug the touchline when he's not left-footed, does he fit into Russell Martin's 4-3-3 with the 2 10s? Does he fit in as a 10 that can cut in? We know he can do it. We've seen it against. So I don't know, Gary. It's one of the ones that if you sell them, you're going to make a loss on them. So is it worth keeping them for the first week or two of pre-season, seeing what kind of attitude they come back with and seeing if they fit into his vision or what a Rangers team looks like? If we asked the 4 years on here, we would say sell a lot of them. But a new manager coming in, a fresh set of eyes, does he really want to just give up on them without even having a look? What I would say is next week's going to have to be busy, because if we start back a week on Monday and the 23rd, I'm sure it is, pre-season kicks back off. So you don't want to be bringing in players dribs and drabs. You want as many as you can possibly have in for the first day, don't you? For that initial team meeting where Russell Martin sells his vision of what the season's going to look like and what pre-season's going to look like and what his plan is for the future and where folks... If I was Russell Martin, I'd want to have a handful of players in next week ready to go for the first day of pre-season, just to give the place a freshness, if nothing else, Gary.
Do you think then, Ross, because the transfer window doesn't actually open to Monday, doesn't it? I think it's Monday. There's
Monday.
all the players lined up, and it's just not... I don't know what you can do about it until the transfer window is open. Can you sign anybody? I don't really know how these rules work nowadays.
You can sign somebody at any time. It's just registering them in it. You can't register them until the window opens. You'd like to think we've got a few irons in the fire. I would also like to think we've got a few lined up. The likes of, if a Dessers goes, the 5 million you get for him, we go and press the button on, if it's done, Turkmen, is that his name? If we've got, once the Dessers money hits the bank, we go and hit the button and he comes in, and by rights, that's what Thelwell should have been doing, innit? Analysing the squad since they started in April, having a look at past games, potentially with Martin, and looking at what have we got, what attributes have the players brought. They might not have fitted into a Clement system, they might not have fitted into a Beale system, but what's the good positive and negative attributes they've got that Russell Martin can work with? And then looking at, right, Ben Davies, we bought him for 4. We're not going to sell him for any less than 3. He's won League One. So if we get the 3 million for him, that's the minimum. We've got people interested. Right, he's away. Right, good. That's good. We can get Connor Cody in because we've budgeted for that money. I think we'll have a wee bit of that. Rob and Peter to pay Paul, and there'll be buying a house. They've got to sell that house for you to buy yours, and then when you sell yours, that gets a deposit for them to buy theirs. And I think there'll be quite a lot of that going on, Gary. I think the 20 million initial investment is obviously on top of any transfer budget that we had for this year, which you could imagine would already be anywhere between 10 and 15 million, potentially a wee bit more based on recent seasons. So if you're looking at 35 million before you even sell a player, then for me, that's enough to go and start budgeting and putting eyes on other players. But also, I think it gives you the bit of play where, see if the Dessers deal drags on too long and your number one target and Don Turkmen is looking like it might be other teams interested, you can go and speculate to accumulate, knowing that Dessers will go through. So I think it's quite a tactical transfer window, this one, because you don't want to dive in, spend your 35 million and then get caught with your pants at your ankles because deals fall through for all these other players that we're trying to get rid of.
No, I think that's a great point. You know, see the fact you've said that 20 million maybe is just a bit of a caveat to give you a bit of scope to play with if things aren't moving about. The chess pieces aren't all going here and there. It gives you that scope to do things. Scott, I'm just going to come at you and Ben Davies only, just because you often do say the thing is that Ben Davies is a really good player. He just was in the wrong team a lot of time. And we talk about this, Rangers have 80% of possession, keeping the ball. Ben Davies actually probably does fit the mould as a player.
See, I see Ben Davies, he can be physical. I watched a lot of Birmingham City games, and League One's a physical league in England. Not the best football player, but as a physical league, and he was holding his own down there. I mean, people say it's not as good as the SPL, but it's not any worse, put it that way. And he was physical, and he was a pressing captain, same as at Sheffield United. So I don't know what went wrong when he came up to Rangers. I was expecting him to do really well, but he struggled badly. So do we keep him? I'm not 100% sure, Gary. I think if he's more suited to playing down in England, then it probably better for him and better for us. But also depends who's interested. Birmingham, I know had him, but Birmingham have got a lot of money to spend. A real lot of money to spend, so they're looking at other targets. And if they're looking at other targets, it kind of tells me maybe they're not really maybe interested in him and Dibble. So do they come back? They come back, they give Martin an option, but I think end of the day we probably should be maybe looking to get rid of the two of them. But like I say, it doesn't matter where Ben Davies goes. I think he'll do a job because I think he's a very good footballer. He just struggled with Rangers for some reason. I'd just like to say, Gary, before we do go, Did Ross McCausland give Bailey Rice Jock Ross darts? Don't know if he's watched that on YouTube. The Rangers players playing with Rob Cross and Josh Rock at darts. Well, Ross McCausland won it, and he didn't. It was Bailey Rice that won it. So Ross cheated because he counted wrong. Ross Clark's favourite player, Ross McCausland. So I'm just wanting to know if he's gave Bailey Rice his prize yet. That's annoying me.
Never seen it. Well, I would say with Ross McCausland, he's the one player with more teams linked to him than them, isn't he? He seems to have linked to a team.
$1.5 million.
He's
the one that has to go. Aye.
Ross McCausland looks like that wee guy you stick a Velcro suit on and absolutely fuck through the office onto a big Velcro dartboard, didn't he?
Wolf of Wall Street, from the Wolf of Wall Street, man.
We're going to finish shortly, and we could go down the lots room as well. Stephen A. Smith done an interview with 4 lads during the week. It was quite an interesting, an hour-long interview over his career. There's lots of different perspectives on Stephen A. Smith, and people like him, dislike him, and all sorts of stuff that goes on. You know, he was obviously a Rangers fan, done lots of good things for Rangers in his time, and then left under a big, dark, rainy, heavy cloud. Ross, where do you stand now all these years later? I'm tempted if you've listened to the interview.
I listened to the interview. Obviously, I've spoke to him. I actually spoke to him. He's a guy that was definitely badly advised at the time, who didn't have a Scooby about what was going on at Rangers, and has forever tarnished his legacy with the Rangers fans because he decided to pull a press conference being badly advised. But what I will say, mate, is see at that time, when you listen to him and listen to other players run about the time, the players were going through a massive issue where they didn't know who was going to be paying them, who was going to be in control of them, what was happening with the club. They should have been notified. They should have been kept abreast of what was going on, and it just didn't seem to happen. Is he going to be welcome back at Ibrox? No, he's not. Is he a pleasant enough guy that speaks fondly of Rangers? Yes, he is. But I get it. I get why people who are heavily invested in the staunch meters through the roof don't want him anywhere near the place. But as somebody who's made more than one mistake in my life, Gary, if I was judged on all the mistakes I've made, I wouldn't be too popular, and I don't think he's too popular. But so he's a genuinely nice guy. I'll tell you what, he's a very knowledgeable guy when it comes to football. Very articulate, very well spoken. But unfortunately, football fans are fickle, and what he done, he'll always be seen as the guy who called a press conference to call Rangers out for being a new club and being this and being that and all the stuff he says. And that, unfortunately, that's the bed he's gone into lie in, and that's unfortunate, but that's how it is.
I'd agree with you. I mean, I think what age he was, maybe 25. I don't even know what age he was at the time, but I mean, a 25-year-old boy that said something he shouldn't have said, and probably never gets it cast up ever since. You know, Ricky, I don't know, you're nodding there.
No, I mean, all these players were in different positions. You've got to remember, Naismith was like probably the best player in that team at that point. He was a fantastic talent. Okay, he was. I mean, so it was different for each player. I mean, I'm not going to tell Rangers fans what to think and what to say. Everyone's opinion is completely valid. You know, for me personally, I think it was wrong at the time, the way that him and Whittaker came out and sort of took a baseball bat to the club when the club was down. And a lot of people won't forget that and forgive that. And I mean, that's up to people. You can't tell people what to think or do. We're no Jurgen Klopp. Only he gets away with telling fans what to think. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean, for me, it's water off a duck's back now. We all, like Ross said, we all make mistakes. I actually enjoy watching Naismith on that Ladbrokes programme. I find him quite a interesting guy to listen to. I think he's quite smart the way he speaks about football. He's quite neutral as well. He's no one of these guys that's looking for headlines and and he's been there as a manager, he's been there as a player, he's been in the English Premier League, so he does have a lot of knowledge. He's a guy that's worth listening to when it comes to, there's not a lot of people that speak about football that's worth listening to nowadays. So for me, he's quite good to listen to and stuff like that. And me personally, I've forgave the guy, but I'm not going to say anything about other people that I've not forgave him, because everyone's different and everyone's opinion is valid.
No, and that was sitting on the fence there, Ricky, as you are. So that was very, I think, you know, it was,
I said I forgive him. I said, for me personally, he made a mistake at the time. I think he kicked the club when it was down, and it was quite brutal what he did at the time with Whittaker. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, like what Ross says, people make mistakes. Are you going to hang the guy for it? He's not coming back to Rangers as a player. He's not coming back to Rangers as a coach. He's not going to be the manager.
so I think he would be a good coach, though, Ricky, you know, from whatever, 50 odd caps for Scotland or whatever it is, his career he's had in Premier League and in Scotland, what he done for Rangers, he knows more. I mean, if you're looking at, forget the name, but all the stuff he's done, is he not a better match? Everybody?
100%, mate, 100%. If he was willing to come into Rangers as a coach, but you've got brand new American owners, and you've got Patrick Stewart who's driving the spaceship. So is he going to turn around and go, okay, there you go, there's Russell Martin, you hated that appointment, there's Stephen Naismith as assistant, man? I just don't think that. I think the clubs came out and denied it anyway, man. The clubs already said it's not happening. So I get your idea. I get that you're wanting to be a bit controversial and get our numbers up on the pod at the end of the show. But
Gary,
can
I come in on that? Just 2 seconds, I'll not be long, but see, when you're talking about Naismith, it was literally 3 weeks ago, folk were saying if Russell Martin was the manager, they would riot, and that's it. There's always, see the ones that go onto Twitter to talk about these things, they're always the vocal, loud ones. See for everyone that's on Twitter moaning and bitching and thinking they know better than everybody else, there's another 100, 200 that'll just accept that it's the best thing for the club and move on. And I was one of the ones when it came to Russell Martin, who obviously, as you know, was staunch for Stevie Gerrard, wanted Gerrard back, don't want Russell Martin. And then once it becomes apparent that it's between Martin and Ancelotti, you start watching videos and you start to listen to what he's got to say. And rather than just have that negative and buying into the frenzy that everybody's all about, oh, it's possession, it's the horseshoe, then you actually start to watch and listen. And then see, by the time it gets announced, you're quite on board with it, to be honest. And I think that, see, if Naismith was to be the correct person that they fought for the job, the Americans and Martin, I don't think they would give 2 monkeys if the fans thought it was the best, because at the end of the day, it's their money, it's their investment. I've said it before, they've spent the guts of £100 million to be able to be sitting with their feet under the desk to make the decisions, and they're going to look after getting money back on their investment. See if a couple of fans are not happy with that, I don't think they'll give one hoot. I think they'll do what's best for them, their investment in the club.
I would agree wholeheartedly. I don't think they would. Scott, I don't know, we've done a group chat at one point with Naismith. I think he's not unfairly treated because it was his own fault, but you know, there's a bit of time passes. Times might be a great healer. It doesn't seem to be where he's concerned.
Listen, it's like Ross mentioned it very early on. Everybody makes mistakes, no matter who you are. You can be minted, you can be skint, you make mistakes. We're all human beings. Listen, Stephen Naismith's a very good coach. I know that for a fact. And I take him back at Rangers. It wouldn't bother me if he came back, to be honest with you. But I do agree a lot of Rangers fans would like it for their own personal reasons. But I would take him back. I think what he done was poor. I think it was very poor. But he was the only guy who said, it was the way he done it. It wasn't what he said, it was the way he done it. But some of the stuff he said, other Rangers players, and Walter Smith even said that, going back, that's not the same club. Do you know what I mean? So it's how you twist the words, Gary. But it's not going to happen. I think it's more just social media talk, paper talk, and anything else. But listen, I think because he's coaching ability, I would take him back. I think he's maybe a very good number 2, but I think Russell Martin will be looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I'd agree. So we're coming to the end of the pod. Last word, are you looking forward, Ross, to watching the Club World Cup or whatever it's called? Does it start tonight? Tomorrow night? I don't know.
Also won't be watching it, mate.
Good. I don't even know who's playing, so I've not looked at it. I know there's
some mad games. There's some
Gary, the darts are on, Gary. The World Cup of darts is on. Come on.
Is Ross McCausland playing?
No, he didn't make it.
Ricky, would you say some weird teams? I've not even looked at it, so I don't even know who's.
It's a bit weird. There's not much exciting games, mate. It's like weird 18-year-olds with big moustaches playing against Messi that's who's 45-year-old. It's not going to be that exciting. The stadiums are half empty. The Americans are having none of it, man. They've seen right through it. So anyway, we will see. I mean, there's no football on, so it's good to have it on in the background. I'll watch the odd game if it's on. You know, you'll be scrolling. It'll be on, but you'll just be scrolling the usual like you do with the Premier League now. So we will see.
I'll be watching Cumdog's interview on Open Goal for about the 800th time, by the way.
How good was that?
So mate, mental, man.
I've genuinely watched the full interview 8 to 10 times. Easy.
The story about Terry Butcher. Are you sure?
Fuck no.
I was listening at my work at my desk, and I was sitting laughing. People must have been saying, "What's he all about?" I just couldn't stop laughing at it, man.
It was the funniest interview. How he's got so many story to story.
See the one he was talking about when he played with Peterborough, and he was hitting golf balls into the stadium.
When he was in the guy's house, when he was in the boss's house, when he was steaming drunk, and he took him to the ice hockey. And he woke up in the guy's house like, where the hell am I, man? This mental, man. What a boy.
Do you think a guy like him, a character like him, can succeed in football nowadays at the top level?
It's scary. Nah, you need to be a robot.
I think that goes against him, Gary. I think he's a good to have in the dressing room, but I think when it comes, if you lose games and stuff like that, the managers look at him and says, no, he's a distraction. And that's probably what happened to him. I was gutted he didn't stay longer at Rangers because I thought he was a decent player, but it didn't happen for him, but he should be playing a higher level than he is because I think he's a really good goal scorer. I don't think he's a bad person. He just likes a laugh, and sometimes he knows himself. He don't have the laugh, but he can't help himself. And it's funny to us, but it's probably not funny to his manager.
Sorry, Ricky. Derek's wanting to hear what Ross was going to say. Was there something coming out?
I can't remember. No, I was genuinely watching it and laughing, and Cole's like, why do you keep watching that? And I'm like, because he's so funny. And she's like, do you want to know why you keep watching that? She's like, because that's what you're like when you're in amongst adults. That's what you're like. That's why you think he's funny. And I'm like, well, potentially. I'm on the same wavelength as him. Ariel Cumdog, man, outstanding. He was at Rangers, he was my favourite player, mate. See, of all the superstars and all the people that have ever played at Rangers, he's one of my favourites. I actually got Xander to get me his match-worn top. He came on off the bench for Rangers against St Johnstone. And I was like, Xander, go get me a Cumdog top. And I've got it. And honestly, see trying to pin him down when he's in Scotland to get him signed. Cumdog, if you ever see this, give me a shout. Hit me up my DMs. Mate, I'd love to get it signed to be able to put it up next to my 19 print.
That's what I say. Try and sell it for £100, make the money back.
Absolutely bonkers, mate. Honestly, man. I was like, who signed this 9 in a row print? I've just spent £100 on it. It was Kerr and Gary that had signed it, mate. And Crane.
Scottish granddaughter still there.
Bobby
she's in bed, Gary.
So, Ricky, I don't know if you've anything you want to add. Final word for you before we finish.
No, I was just laughing. I was laughing at Man City because Grealish apparently got absolutely hammered at that weaving do for De Bruyne, and then Pep went and signed 4 Muslims after. So you were asking about Jason Cummins, and there's no place for these, even at the top level like Mavericks. You can't be drinking alcohol anymore, or you just get binned, and that's what's happened to Grealish, which is quite sad. A man of his talent, mate.
Even Phil Foden, Foden was absolutely flying until that mad bird came out and released the thing about him. Like, you can't even have young guys now can't even have
the main mistakes.
They can't.
There's no mistakes. You can't have a laugh, Ross. You can't enjoy yourself.
They're so under the lens all the time. And it used to be up here. It used to be at Rangers and Celtic, but see now it's just everybody's just
camera phone.
It's the age of social media. Do you know what I mean?
Like the stories, Ross, about Alan McCoy and Durant in the chip shops and things like that, getting into fights and parties and stuff. They couldn't live in this world, really, all these legends.
No.
Sadly. And it takes
You said that's how we couldn't go live with a podcast up at Oswald's in case I got us out of jail. That's what you said, wasn't it?
We're not let enjoy it. We're not let fun.
You're like, Ross, you're too much of a maverick for us. You'll end up getting us cancelled.
Too much of a risk. Standing on edge the whole way through it. I know, right. Anyway, we've been on for an extended episode because we're doing one episode a week just now. We're all just doing it on a Friday at the moment, just because it's summertime. There's not much happening. So it's running a little bit longer than it would be if we were on the 2 episodes. We are assuming we're going to come back next Friday unless any major developments happen over the course of the week. And hopefully Ross might be able to join us again. It's good to have you back, Ross. For there. So other than that, I think that's probably us for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed.
I'd like to say, Gary, congratulations to Johnson Borough for winning the Scottish Cup. Superb.
Yeah, good on Kyle. He was simply the best in the background. I've seen that on again a character that probably never done as much as he should have at times with his career. So no, well done to Johnson. They paraded the trophy in all the schools, I think, last week, didn't they? It was a big thing for them.
They went through the schools, the care homes and stuff. They've done really well for the community, I have to say, but it was fantastic watching them.
No, good on them. So, as always, like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next week. Take care. Enjoy your weekends.